Hello everyone, welcome back. We're going to continue our conversation about MS, truth. We've spoken about how to find truth, how to apply ourselves with the traits and the characteristics of humility, hachna and anava. How in order to listen to anybody else, you need to have that feeling of, I'm not coming in with all the answers. I am ready to listen. How to get to know the truth that's within us. How to get to know the inner spark, the neshama, the soul that's within us, is also going in saying, I don't know all the answers. I may have questions. I'm going to go in with the humility, knowing that with questions, I'll only get as far as how many answers I want to get. The questions that I have to be willing to receive the answers. We see it on Pesach. You see the Rasha shows up. There are four sons. There's the Chacham, Rasha, the Tam, and She'enoi Yedei Alisho. There's the wise son, then there's the wicked son, then there's just the Tam, the guy just in between, doesn't really know anything, ready to absorb whatever, and the one who doesn't even know how to ask. And the Rasha, he asks questions, and what do we say in the Haggadah? What do we say Pesach night? Knock his teeth out. And why should I knock his teeth out? If he's asking a question, should I not answer him? Should I not try at least? Thing is, the wicked son is not willing to hear the answer. So what's the point of him questioning? What's the point of the question? The question that he brings about is just to irritate the people around him, just to show a lack of respect. I'm not ready to listen. So if you're not ready to listen, why ask the question? We have to be willing to hear the answer. And as we go into truth, we know that there are only answers over there. As we go up, as we go into a place of finding truth, the questions all dissipate. Because as we start finding truth, as we start finding that level of honesty, the questions all dissipate. Meaning, let's say you're driving your car and you're in traffic. The reality in front of you says, I have to get upset. I'm being pulled into this reality. I need to get somewhere. I'm late. I just don't want to sit here. I don't have patience for this. I'd rather be doing something else. But once you reach a level of honesty and truth, you realize, if this is where I am, then there's nothing really I could do about it. It's the control that I'm holding on that's making me upset. It's that need to be in control, to be able to get to where I want to get to get to the end of my plans and fulfill them. That's what's really making me upset. But once I realize that it's not really my plan that I'm living, I'm just going through the motions and doing what I'm supposed to be doing in this world in order to bring food to my table, in order to bring happiness to myself and to my family and to Hashem. Once I realize that that is the level of reality that I'm living on, once I start riding that road, then no matter if there's traffic or not, I'm always going to be on this higher level of understanding, this higher level of consciousness, that my questions, yes, they might be hard, they might be tough, they might sit, they might hurt a little bit, but the second I get myself onto that level, I raise my consciousness, change my mindset a little bit, everything is fine. Actually, not just it's fine, I can start hearing answers. Why am I in traffic? Why am I feeling this pain? Is it because I want to get to this place and I'm not getting there on time? Or let's leave that reality aside for a second and say, no, maybe there's something I could learn from this traffic. As we spoke about, we need the negative in order to learn in the positive. We need to have that down in order to feel the up. We need to have that little bit of traffic in order to be able to learn our next move. There's an interesting Gemara in Mesechtes Makkos 10a. Mesechtes Makkos. The Gemara speaks about Rebbe, who said, When I was a Talmud, when I was a student, I learned a lot from my Rebbeim. I learned a lot when I was a student. I had many questions, I asked, and I got answers. I opened books from people older than me, smarter than me, wiser, and I learned. Then as I grew, not just that, I started making friends, and we started learning together. And our conversations started giving me more and more clarity. I started having this openness that my questions weren't just problems, they were actually forms of discussion, ways of getting into a deeper understanding, forming connections through them, learning how to speak, having that back and forth, not just between me having questions and waiting for somebody to give me the answer, but actively speaking, building a conversation. I ask a question, I speak, and my friend replies, and then I remind myself of something else, and I go on back and forth and keep on building this conversation. And then, Talmidai, and from my students, Rebbe says, as I became a Rebbe, and I started having students of my own, I learned even more. I saw my students asking questions, and I remembered being that student. I remember asking those questions and eventually finding those answers, hearing them, and growing, leveling up my consciousness. And now that I am a Rebbe, and I'm teaching the younger generation, I'm teaching people with their own questions, I learned even more. We spoke about this, how when you reach a certain level of king, you have to remember that we have to live in the balance, that we're not just king, we're also still the servant. Ani Avdecha, King David HaMelech says, I'm the king, David HaMelech, but I'm still Avdecha, I'm still that servant of Hashem. I couldn't have gotten to this level of being a Rebbe without being a student. But then again, even if I am a Rebbe, I'm still a student, because a Rebbe learns even more. Being on this level, being higher up, teaches you that you're not this high, because you're going to grow even higher, and you're going to become an even more thoughtful person as you start expanding your reach, as you start bringing other people in, as you start hearing the questions that others have, and you start being the one that they look for the answers. Having that dynamic of knowing, yes, I'm a Rebbe, but I'm still a student, because I'm learning even more as I dive into their questions, as I dive into other areas, other topics of life, that brings even more to the consciousness of a person. When a person tries to live with truth, when a person wants to be connected, they are able to have these conversations within themselves on all different levels. They could be their student, they could be their friend, you could be your own friend. You get to know yourself. You get to speak to yourself. You get into that place of honesty, as we spoke about, that cave in the heart. You want to go into that cave. You want to go in there with complete humility, knowing I'm not here to take over the place, because as much as I made it in here, this place is a place where everybody's a guest. Everybody shows up saying, I'm here because I want to learn how to become even better. I'm not at my greatest level as I walk in here because I don't have all the answers. I'm coming in here because I want to go with the flow of truth. And the flow of truth teaches so much. We see it in Tehillim, in the first parak. V'hoya ke'etz shasol al palge moyim. Someone who chooses the life of Torah, someone who chooses the life uv'serasa yehege yomim v'loila. He chooses life not just with his learning and with his actions, but even with his thoughts. He chooses the life of Torah, and he brings more and more into himself. Wherever he goes, he finds another area, another anecdote, another metaphor, something else that he could analyze to bring himself to a better place in his life. When a person lives with truth, he's going to be like a tree which is planted as the water splits. If you have you have a flowing river, the river goes to the right, the river goes to the left, and right in the middle, there's that tree that's planted, always has water, it always has its fruit coming out on its time, and even the leaves are always fresh, always filled with water, always alive and well. people could come underneath that tree and relax and cover themselves from in the shade of the tree. And that is a person who is truly balanced, somebody who goes along with the flow of truth. Such a person is able to grow and continue being real. When a person lives in this manner, you start realizing that it's not the big things that a person does, it's not the big things that they do that brings them to their salvation. People think, oh, in order to be recognized, in order to be acknowledged or accepted, I have to go and do something extravagant. I have to go and give $1 million to this place in order for my name to be recognized. I have to go and do something huge so that way I'll forever be remembered. But the truth is, the way to get through to someone's heart, those things that people think, oh, how do I connect to my children? How do I connect to my spouse, to my friends? It's not through something extravagant. The real thing is, you give them a hug. You go and you show them that you're there. You show them that you're accepting of them no matter what their questions are. No matter how much they struggle, there is that acceptance of saying, I'm here and I'm giving you that hug. I'm giving you those little things. I'm showing you what life really is. When you have a Rasha who's not willing to accept the answer, what we do on Pesach is Hakei Shinav. What you do is you go to his teeth and you tell him, what's the point of all this? If you don't know how to communicate, if you don't know how to be an adult, what we do is we put you back to the level of a baby. We knock your teeth out. Let's start all over again. Go back to your innocence. Go back to where you start growing up, where there are no questions. Go back to a level of beginning. Bereshis, Me'ei Masai, just in the beginning of time. Let's start asking questions that are in search for the answer. Right? As you see, the word Me'ei Masai, as Mesechtas Brachos starts, Me'ei Masai, Mesechtas Tainas, right? Everything starts Me'ei Masai. How do we start? We search for the emes. Me'ei Masai. Where do I find the truth? When I start asking the proper questions, that's when you start growing. That's when you start flowing properly. With little things, you show them the love of what a mother gives to a child, that a father gives to a child, raising them properly, giving them the opportunity to grow under this tree, to grow in this place of truth, so that way they could feel that feeling and not be lost in their questions and their large piles of questions, which makes them feel that since I have all these questions, nobody could possibly find the answers. And even if somebody thinks he has the answers, they don't understand my question enough. It's the ability to go back to a level of innocence, and from that innocence, you'll be able to go up. And that is the word tamimus. Tamimus is, technically, you see it has the word emes inside. It has the mem suf, right? It has the emes, but it doesn't have the aleph. If you want to go back to tamimus, you have to go back to allowing yourself to be small, and slowly you bring that aleph. You bring the alufa shel olam. You bring Hashem into yourself. You bring that aleph and attach it to the tamimus. And that takes the mes, it takes the dead person, and it adds the aleph, and that becomes emes, and that takes a person from the lowest level of innocence all the way up to being from the Talmud, to being the chaver, to being that partner, all the way up to being that Rebbe. That is the life that we are all striving to get to. Yes, we find ourselves throughout our day, we're in business. We're trying to succeed in our personal, spiritual struggles, in our physical relationships. We're working hard on our spiritual relationship with Hashem. And as long as we're attached to our questions, as long as we're not ready to listen, we aren't able to grow. But it's not just that. We have to learn to experience what does it mean to live with truth. If we don't experience that, and we're just living in this low physical level, and we never allow ourselves to go up, there's no chance for us to be able to taste that tamu iru kitoiv Hashem. we don't have the ability to taste and see the greatness and the goodness of Hashem. Being truthful, which means walking around and speaking only the truth. Being weighed with our words, knowing that when I speak, every word is going to be listened to in a certain way, and it could be misconstrued. So I have to be sure to say it properly, so that people around me don't have the wrong idea. I want to be able to say things. I want people to listen. Basically, I want to learn how to communicate properly. Once we reach MS, we learn the art of communication. The art of communication is not just for ourselves, so I know how to speak to this camera, or for you to listen. The art of communication is for you to keep the words that I'm saying, for my words to be able to remain here forever, for my words to be able to grow roots and be like that tree planted on the fork, like of that river. For those words to be able to continue, I need emes. I need to come from a place of truth. As the Gemara says, Rish Lakish says, "Kshoit atzmacha, va'achrechein kshoit acherem." Right? Those, I'm almost saying the correct words. You should take care of yourself first. Make yourself truthful. Kshoit is a word of like beautify yourself, but the word kshoit means truth, as you say in Ana Avda, and we say it in Brich Shemei, right? The hu elaka kshoit ve'oiraisa kshoit ve'oya kshoit umaske lemevad tavana kshoit. He is a truthful God, and his prophecies are true. And his Torah is true, his prophecies are true. Umaske lemevad tavana kshoit, and he does more and more. He loves doing more and more good and truthful things. And that's what the Gemara says, Masechet Avodah Zarah 19. The Gemara says on this pasuk, V'hoya ke'etz shasol al palgei moyim, asha pirya yitem be'itoy ve'alehu lo yibol. Even the leaves won't wither. Rashi in Tehillim and the Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah explain what does ve'alehu lo yibol, even his leaves won't wither. That someone who walks around with truth, someone who walks around with v'sirasai yaga yomim v'loila, he walks around with his heart filled with Torah. Such a person, even the words that he speaks, even sichas chilin, even the words that he speaks just in a random, he goes into the grocery and asks for something, even as he communicates with a random person, those words will even sichas chilav tzrichin Talmud, that you could learn from them. You could see how he weighs his words properly because he's walking around with truth. A person who walks around with truth isn't just a regular person who's trying to get by. They are actually living. They are not getting by and trying to get to wherever they want to get to. Oh, I have to get to this place, and that's why I'm upset because I'm sitting in traffic. No, being in traffic, this is exactly where I have to be. And that's the way they speak. I'm not speaking to you because I want you to give me something. I'm speaking to you because while I'm speaking, I'm communicating, I'm actually giving you something. My speaking, my living, every minute, every second of my day is useful. It's not that I'm doing things in order to get something, and if I don't get it, everything falls apart. No, every word that I use and every communication, every message that comes out of me, is it verbally, or is it even just by the way my eyes are, the way my face, my smirks, and the way I move, I twist my nose. All of those things are messages, and they're subliminal. People see them. People pick them up. Even regular, simple people who aren't so attached. When they walk around, they see somebody smirking, they see somebody winking with their eye. They could pick up, they could sense it. And there's even quieter senses that you could start feeling from subliminal messages, people's faces, the way they look, the way you see them. Some people they show up, you see them every day, and then one day you see them, they're a little bit, just their forehead is a little bit scrunched, and you already know to go over to them and say, hey, what's going on? You could start seeing that with any person around. You could start connecting and saying, something is up with this person. I have a feeling I could communicate because they are communicating it to me. Not to me, they're communicating communicating it to the world. They're searching for an answer. They're asking for questions. And are they ready to listen? This is the fundamentals of truth. Truth is not just something that we're trying to get to. Truth is something that we carry around with us all the time. And that's why it's the Aleph, it's the beginning, it's the Mem in the middle, and it's the Saf, which is at the end, Ms. It goes through from the beginning all the way to the end, throughout our entire life, throughout every single moment of our life. This is the way to live. I know there's a lot to learn. MS is a topic that we could speak of forever. But now that we touched upon the idea of communication, we will hopefully be able to go into that and take that up to another level, learn how to communicate, learn how to speak, learn how to form relationships, and hopefully learn how to form the ultimate relationship with Hashem. I hope you learned something. I'll see you next week, and I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care.